The planet Xylon was unlike anything Jack had ever imagined. It was a world that seemed to pulse with energy, its landscapes filled with towering crystal structures and vibrant colors that seemed to dance in the air. He had no idea how he had ended up here. One moment he was on Earth, and the next he found himself standing alone in a strange world, a world far beyond his understanding. The air was thick with a strange, almost electric charge, and the ground beneath him seemed to hum with life. He had heard rumors of alien worlds, but nothing had prepared him for this. The sky was a shade of violet, dotted with 2 moons hanging low, casting an eerie glow over everything. As Jack stumbled through the unfamiliar terrain, his heart pounded in his chest. He was lost, alone, and confused. There were no signs of life, just the faint sound of the wind rushing through the crystal-like trees and the distant hum of what might have been a machine. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Stay focused, he thought. You need to find a way out of here. You need to find answers. But where was he supposed to go? What was he supposed to do? Jack's gaze shifted to the horizon, where a faint light seemed to flicker. Maybe there was something that could give him a clue as to how he got here, or how to get back home. His legs ached, but he pushed on, driven by the instinct to find safety and answers. As he walked, he couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as a sudden chill swept through the air. He stopped, in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. There was something, or someone, moving in the shadows just beyond his vision. Jack took a slow step forward, trying to make out what it was. His eyes narrowed, but the figure was too far away, hidden by the darkened foliage of the alien trees. Is it an animal? A creature? Or worse, someone hostile? His mind raced with the possibilities. He was in a foreign world, and every unknown corner could be dangerous. Without warning, the figure stepped into the light. Jack froze, his body stiffening. The figure that emerged was nothing like he had ever seen before. She was tall, her presence commanding, with long, flowing hair that shimmered like silver in the violet glow of the moons. Her skin was a soft shade of blue, and her eyes, those eyes, were a brilliant shade of green, glowing with an unnatural intensity. They seemed to pierce through him, searching deep into his very soul. Her features were strikingly beautiful, but it was the air around her that truly made her stand out. She seemed to radiate an aura of power, grace, and mystery. Jack's mouth went dry, and for a moment he couldn't find his voice. His eyes locked onto hers, and it felt as though the entire world around them ceased to exist. All that mattered was the woman before him, whose presence seemed to bend the very air. The woman regarded Jack for a long moment, her gaze unwavering, her expression unreadable. It was as though she was studying him, seeing something that no one else could see. Jack swallowed hard, his throat dry. Who is she? What does she want with me? The silence stretched on, and Jack's mind raced. He wanted to speak, to demand answers, but his legs felt like they were made of stone. There was something captivating about her, something that made him feel small, insignificant, and yet inexplicably connected to her. Finally, the woman spoke, her voice soft yet powerful. "Human," she said, her tone almost curious. "You are far from home." Her voice carried an edge of something ancient, something beyond Jack's comprehension. "Tell me, and how did you come to be here?" Jack blinked, still stunned by her presence. He cleared his throat, trying to find his words. I don't know," he stammered. "One minute I was on Earth, and the next, I ended up here." His voice trailed off, the confusion settling back in. "I don't understand. I don't even know how I got here." The woman tilted her head slightly as though intrigued by his response. "A human with no memory of how he arrived," she murmured. "Fascinating. You're not like the others. You're different." Jack frowned, trying to process her words. Different? What does she mean by that? Before he could ask any more questions, she stepped closer, her presence growing even more powerful as she approached. "I am Zaina, Princess of Xylan," she said, her eyes never leaving his. "And you, human, are about to learn that you are more than just a man. You are something extraordinary." Jack's heart raced. "Extraordinary? What does she mean?" She continued, her voice soft yet filled with conviction. "You see, you are not like the others of your kind. There is power within you, power that has been hidden until now. Something about you, your spirit, your soul, resonates with a force that we have not felt in centuries." Jack's confusion deepened. He didn't feel powerful. He was just an ordinary guy. But the way she spoke with such certainty made him question everything. Could it be true? His mind was spinning. Zaina took another step closer, her eyes never leaving his. "I can see it in you, Jack. You are not just human. You are a living legend, and I am here to help you unlock that power." Her words sent a shiver down Jack's spine. He didn't know what to think, but one thing was clear. His life was never going to be the same again. Suspense. Just as Zaina spoke those words, a strange hum filled the air. The ground beneath them seemed to vibrate, and Jack felt a sudden surge of energy course through his body. It was as if the very world around him had shifted. "What's happening to me?" Zaina stepped back, her eyes wide with realization. "It has begun," she whispered, and with that, Jack's journey into the unknown world of Xylan was only just beginning. The sun had long set on the alien world, but the strange, glowing landscape of Xylan never seemed to lose its vibrancy. The moons above cast their eerie light down on the crystal forests, making the entire world seem alive. Jack stood beside Zaina, still in shock over the events of the day. The words she had spoken kept echoing in his mind. "You are a living legend." He didn't understand. How could he, a simple human from Earth, possibly be anything other than ordinary? Yet, as he looked at Zaina, he could see the certainty in her eyes. She wasn't lying. There was something inside him, something different. Zaina observed Jack, carefully, a hint of a smile playing on her lips as she studied him. "I told you, Jack. You're not just a human, you are something far more powerful than you could imagine." Her voice was filled with wonder, but also something deeper. Urgency. "But we must unlock your potential, and for that you must first learn to control what's inside of you." Jack swallowed hard, his palms sweating. He didn't even know where to begin. His life had just been turned upside down, and now Zaina was talking about unlocking some hidden power inside him. It was overwhelming. "How do I control it? I don't even know what's happening." Zaina stepped closer, her presence calming yet intense. "First, you must learn to trust yourself. Power like yours isn't something you can control with your mind alone. It's a part of you. It's in your blood, in your spirit. You need to feel it, not think about it." Jack's mind raced. He had never experienced anything like this before. He was just an ordinary guy. He had no special abilities, no extraordinary gifts, but the way Zaina spoke made him question everything. Could he really be more than he seemed? Zaina raised her hand, and the air around them seemed to crackle with energy. "Let go of your doubts, Jack. Close your eyes. Feel the energy around you. Feel it inside you." He hesitated, but then, feeling the weight of her words, Jack shut his eyes. He took a deep breath, trying to quiet his racing thoughts. At first, nothing happened. But then, a faint pulse. At first, it was subtle, like the flicker of a distant light. It was a sensation deep within him, a warmth that spread through his chest. He focused on it, willing it to grow, to become clearer. And as he did, the pulse grew stronger. His heart beat faster, matching the growing rhythm of the energy around him. It was as if the entire world was syncing with his heartbeat. Suddenly, the warmth inside him exploded outward. His eyes snapped open as a burst of light surged from his body, glowing brightly in the dim surroundings. The energy crackled around him, swirling in the air like a storm contained within him. Jack stumbled backward in shock, his hands held up in front of him, instinctively trying to block the power he couldn't control. "Control it, Jack." Zaina's voice broke through the chaos. "You must direct it, not fight it." Jack's hands trembled as the energy swirled around him. He could feel it, raw, untamed, and infinite. His pulse quickened and his entire body hummed with the power. He gritted his teeth and focused on Zaina's words. "Don't fight it. Control it." Slowly, Jack lowered his hands and tried to focus the energy, pushing it outward. The swirling light shifted, like a vortex of pure force, forming a small sphere of energy in front of him. His chest tightened with the effort. The power wasn't something he could simply will into existence. It was part of him, a force he had to shape, not command. Zaina watched him with intensity, her eyes filled with both admiration and caution. "You're learning faster than I expected," she murmured. "But you must understand, Jack, that this power is not just about strength. It is about balance. The moment you lose control, you will be at its mercy." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had always been a person of logic, someone who believed in what could be seen and touched. This power, this force, was nothing like that. It was an energy that lived and breathed, like a storm he couldn't control, and the more he tried to control it, the more it seemed to. As the energy pulsed and rippled around him, Jack realized something profound. It wasn't about mastering the power, but about understanding it. He had to accept it as part of him, not something separate or alien. With that thought, he took another deep breath, focusing on his inner calm, and then, as if by instinct, the energy stopped. The sphere of light dissipated, leaving only a soft glow in the air around him. Jack stood there, breathless, his hand still tingling with the residual power. It was unlike anything he had ever felt, dangerous, exhilarating, and utterly unfamiliar. Zaina nodded approvingly. "You've done well, Jack. But this is only the beginning. You're not yet in full control, but you've taken the first step." Jack wiped his brow, his mind spinning. "What now?" Zaina's gaze turned serious. "Now, we prepare for what's coming. Your power is not just a gift. It's a weapon, one that can change everything. And soon there will be others who will seek to take it from you." Jack's stomach tightened. "Who? What do you mean?" Before Zaina could answer, a distant, ominous rumble echoed through the air. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Something was coming, he could feel it. Zaina's expression darkened. "We must go. Now." As they turned to leave, Jack's mind raced. He had just unlocked a hidden strength, but it wasn't just a part of him. It was the key to something far larger, something that could reshape the very fabric of this world. And with that knowledge came the terrifying realization. He was no longer just a human. He was a force to be reckoned with. The tension was building. And Jack knew deep down that he had only just begun to understand what he was truly capable of. The tension in the air was palpable as Jack followed Zaina through the labyrinth of glowing crystal trees and towering structures. The city of Xylan, once serene and mysterious, now felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode. The power inside Jack thrummed beneath his skin, alive and restless, but he didn't know how to harness it fully yet. And now, something dark was approaching, something that threatened everything he had come to understand. Zaina moved swiftly ahead, her silvery hair trailing behind her like a comet. She was no longer the calm, confident princess who had introduced Jack to this world. Now her eyes were sharp with focus, her steps deliberate. Jack couldn't keep up, his mind whirling with what she had told him. "You're not just a human, you're a weapon," she had said. "This power inside you could change everything, but it can also destroy you if you don't learn how to control it." "Where are we going?" Jack called out, trying to keep pace. Zaina didn't turn to answer, but her voice came back to him, low and urgent. "To the Citadel. We need to prepare. You're not the only one with power on this world, and others will be coming for you, for what you carry." Jack's heart skipped a beat. Others? He had heard whispers of the dangers Zaina had mentioned, the shadows that lurked in the corners of this world, drawn to power like vultures to a carcass. But hearing her speak it so plainly made it real. Just as they rounded a corner, a loud explosion rocked the ground beneath them, throwing both of them off balance. The sound of shattering crystal and screeching metal filled the air. Jack instinctively reached out to grab Zaina, steadying her. The force of the blast had come from the direction of the citadel, the heart of the city, where the ruling council resided. What was that? Jack shouted over the chaos. Zaina's eyes narrowed. They're here. Before Jack could ask who they were, a shadow appeared from the corner of his vision. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a flicker, but then it took shape. Tall, cloaked figures, their faces hidden behind black helmets that gleamed ominously in the violet light. Jack's instincts screamed that these weren't ordinary soldiers. Their movements were too precise, too calculated. The air grew heavy, charged with tension. Zaina stepped in front of Jack, her hand raised as if to shield him. Her voice, though, calm, was laced with fury. "The Shadow Council," she muttered. "Agents of a faction that seeks to control all power on Xylan. They will stop at nothing to take you." Jack's mind raced. Why me? What makes me so special? Without warning, one of the figures drew a weapon, a glowing energy blade that pulsed with a dangerous hum. Zaina's eyes flashed, and before Jack could react, she was already moving. With an almost supernatural speed, she lunged at the attacker, her own blade drawn in a flash of silver light. The two clashed in a blur of motion, their blades meeting with a crackling sound that echoed through the air. Jack stood frozen for a moment, watching as Zaina fought with deadly precision, her every movement a testament to her training. But there was something else in her fight, a desperation, as though she knew that this battle would decide the fate of them all. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to help, to do something, anything, but he was still learning. His powers were raw, untamed. And yet something inside him surged, as if the battle itself was calling to the force that resided within him. Zaina's opponent, a tall, imposing figure, stepped back, seemingly gaining the upper hand. Zaina stumbled slightly, her blade slipping from her grip as she parried another blow. Jack's chest tightened with fear. This can't happen. Not like this. Without thinking, Jack stepped forward. His body moved almost instinctively, and he raised his hand, focused on the energy that had surged within him before. The air around him crackled as he concentrated, drawing on the power that was buried deep inside. A beam of blinding light shot from his palm, striking the shadowy figure in the chest with an explosive force. The figure was thrown back, crashing into a nearby building, but it didn't fall. Instead, it rose again, its helmet cracked but its body unharmed. The Shadow Council agents were not so easily defeated. Zaina gasped, her eyes wide as she turned to Jack. "You're learning faster than I thought," she said, her voice filled with equal parts awe and concern. "But you're not ready for this. You must control it." Jack was barely listening. The power inside him felt wild, like an untamed beast that wanted to break free. He could feel the energy surging through him, pulling him in ways he couldn't fully understand. He wanted to be in control, but it felt like the power itself was controlling him. Another figure, this one larger and more armored than the others, stepped into view. He had no weapon, but his presence alone was enough to send a chill down Jack's spine. His eyes, glowing red, fixed on Jack with an intensity that made his stomach drop. "Enough of this," the figure growled, his voice deep and resonant. "You are a threat, human, and we will end you before you have the chance to become something more." Zaina took a step forward, placing herself between Jack and the towering figure. "You'll have to get through me first." But the armored figure only chuckled darkly. "The princess fights for the human? You are a fool to believe in him." Jack could feel Zaina's tension, her focus unwavering. But something in the armored figure's words struck him. The council's agents were not just after power. They were after him, specifically. They didn't want him to become the legend that Zaina had seen in him. They wanted to prevent it. Jack's body tensed, his hands trembling as he felt the energy building again. This time, however, he focused not just on the raw power, but on control. He could feel the power within him, pulsing, ready to explode. It was time to fight back, to take control. With a surge of determination, Jack stepped forward, pushing Zaina aside as he faced the armored figure. His body thrummed with energy, and for the first time, he didn't fight it. Instead, he embraced. A fierce blast of light erupted from Jack's hands, striking the armored figure head-on. The figure staggered, but the blast wasn't enough to take him down. It was a warning. The battle was far from over. Jack's journey had just begun, and he knew now that he would have to rise to the challenge or risk losing everything. The battlefield was silent for a moment, the calm before the storm. The eerie hum of energy hung in the air, a sharp contrast to the chaotic battle that had raged just moments before. The armored figure, battered but not broken, stood tall in front of Jack, his red eyes glowing like burning embers in the twilight. Behind them, the wreckage of the city lay in ruins, the once pristine structures now nothing more than shattered pieces of a world in peril. Jack stood, his heart pounding, his hands still crackling with energy, a volatile force threatening to burst free. Zaina stood beside him, her face pale but resolute. The air around them was charged, the ground beneath their feet trembling with the weight of what was to come. The Shadow Council had shown no mercy, and they would not stop until they had taken what they came for. "You think you can stop us?" The armored figure sneered, his voice cold and menacing. "You're nothing but a human, a fleeting moment, in the grand scheme of things. You cannot stand against the power of the Council." Jack's fists clenched, the energy inside him writhing in response to the challenge. He had felt the power surge through him before, but this time it was different. This time, he knew he could harness it. He wasn't just a man. He was a force, to be reckoned with. The legendary power Zaina had seen in him was not some distant possibility. It was alive, burning within him. But even as he prepared to strike, something deep within him told him that it wouldn't be enough. The Council was too powerful, and Jack, despite everything, was still learning how to control his abilities. It wasn't just the physical fight he was up against. It was the war for his soul. And in the end, that would be the greatest challenge of all. Zaina's voice broke through his thoughts, her tone soft yet filled with urgency. "Jack, listen to me," she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You are not ready to defeat them in a single strike. They will keep coming, and if you use all your power now, there will be nothing left. You need to make a choice, a sacrifice." Jack turned to her, confusion and fear flashing in his eyes. "What do you mean? What choice?" Zaina's eyes were filled with sadness, but also a deep understanding. "If we are to stop the Shadow Council, we must make the ultimate sacrifice. You must use your power to destroy them, but you cannot hold back. You must give everything you have." Jack felt the weight of her words sink in. Everything. The thought of losing himself, of losing everything he had just begun to understand, made his heart ache. But he knew that Zaina was right. This wasn't just about him. This was about the future of two worlds, about protecting those he cared for, and about stopping the Council's reign of terror once and for all. "I can't do this alone," Jack whispered, his voice filled with uncertainty. "You are not alone," Zaina replied, her voice steady. "We are in this together. You are the legend they fear, and you will rise to the challenge no matter the cost." Jack looked out at the ruined city, his thoughts racing. He knew that the only way to truly defeat the Shadow Council was to destroy their hold on Xylan and prevent them from spreading their darkness any further. And that meant he would have to give up everything, his power, his life, his very being. A deep, calm understanding settled over him. This was his destiny. The power that had been awakened inside him wasn't just for his benefit. It was a gift meant to protect the universe from the forces that sought to corrupt it. He had to make sure that gift didn't fall into the wrong hands. He turned to Zaina, his eyes clear. "I'm ready." Zaina's eyes softened and she gave him a small nod. I will be with you. Always. With a final, silent vow, Jack stepped forward, focusing all the energy he had within him. His body glowed with a bright, intense light as the power surged up from the depths of his soul. The raw, untamed force he had learned to control flowed through him, filling every fiber of his being. It was the culmination of everything he had endured, everything he had fought for. The energy hummed around him, vibrating with purpose. The armored figure charged toward him, but Jack was ready. He raised his hands and a powerful wave of energy burst from his chest, striking the figure square in the chest. The explosion of light was deafening, blinding. For a moment, everything was drowned out by the searing heat and the crackling power. When the light faded, the armored figure was gone, disintegrated into nothingness. But Jack didn't stop there. The energy inside him kept building, its force unstoppable. The Shadow Council's agents were all around them, and Jack knew he had to destroy them all. Zaina stepped forward, her eyes wide with both fear and admiration. Jack, stop. You're going too far. You're going to... But Jack didn't hear her. The power inside him was too strong, too overwhelming. He focused it outward, creating an explosion of light and force that tore through the city. The Council's forces fell before him, their darkness erased by the raw energy of his sacrifice. As the last of the shadowy figures disintegrated, Jack's vision blurred. His body trembled, his strength faltering. The power he had unleashed had taken everything from him. He fell to his knees, his breath ragged, his body burning with the strain of the sacrifice. Zaina rushed to his side, her face filled with anguish. Jack, no, you can't. But Jack smiled, his eyes dimming. It's done. The world is safe. Zaina held him close, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, You've saved us all. Jack's vision faded as he allowed himself to rest, the world around him growing darker. His last thought was of Zaina, the one who had believed in him when no one else had. And as he faded into the darkness, he knew that his sacrifice had been worth it. The legend of Jack, the human who became more than he ever could have imagined, would live on, and in that he found peace.